Not every client that comes in there, but some clients come in and we may get a referral that says they have a brain injury. But it's disclosed through the process that they also have an addiction. And we actually have a program that deals with persons with brain injury with addiction. And when that person starts to work with them, they realize that not only do they have an addiction, but they have a mental health problem. So as you start to look at it, there seems to be a process that happens that when people get a brain injury, if their life really falls off the rails, they will turn to something to put them in a happy place. And quite often the happy place is some form of drug or chemical. And that works for a while. But then the amount they have to use escalates. So they get into that whole addiction spiral. And eventually they will develop some form of mental illness, whether it's depression is usually probably the most common one. And maybe they had a tendency to have one of the mental illnesses before. Well, they're more likely to have it now because their inhibitions are attenuated to a certain degree. So we'll see some clients that will come in with that, we call it the unhappy triad. And you really can't start rehabilitating the brain injury till you get the other layers off. So as one of my colleagues at work says, you got to peel the onion skin layers off. You know, probably the easiest one to do is the addiction piece, and that's hard. But you enroll them, you work with them, you work hard with them to get them off the addiction piece, and that's a long process. And meanwhile, they're still carrying the brain injury and the mental health problem. But if you can get them to the point that they buy into rehab of some sort or decreased harm, quite often, but not always, the mental health issue goes away. Not always, but it's part and parcel, right? If you can get that to the point that those two seem to be under control, what you have in front of you is a person with a brain injury, and you can now start to explore what they can do. But there's no sense doing that under the influence of drugs or whatever, and there's no sense trying to do it with the mental health. In the ideal world, is it for us to be working side by side with mental health. So when we do an intake with our clients, we do an intake with a mental health person and our worker in the same room. So they don't have to do the interview twice. And then the two people get together and say, yeah, there's a brain injury here, but you know what? The mental health issue is the biggest problem right now. So maybe this person goes to your service first, understanding they will come back. Or maybe they'll say, you know, that mental health issue is not that big of a deal. It's the brain injury is a problem. Good. Then we're not referring inappropriately back and forth and wasting time.